Okay, it's story time. I'm super excited. Um, okay, so the last time we talked about Freddy's and Caesar's story, we ended with basically Caesar telling Freddy that he's in another dimension. He's never not once seen his brother concerned, worried, afraid. Nothing. None of the above. None of those negative emotions. He's never seen it. So now he's like, what is the problem? You need to start talking. You need to start answering me. What is going on? And then he hears growling behind him. So now Freddy's like, please do not tell me that there is a dog behind me. And Freddy is basically following this brand new creature that he discovered to God only knows where. So now, in this present moment, he's currently following this creature to God only knows where. And so they're wandering through the woods, and he's wondering if this thing is taking him back to his brother. Is it taking him back home? Like, where are we going? He can't really have a conversation with this thing because it's a thing. So he continues following it until they get to this sort of like broken down, weird old wooden cabin. And now Freddy's like, great. Is this where we're going to be sleeping for the night? Because it looks awfully uncomfortable. He walks up the little creature. Well, not necessarily little. The creature, like the thing, walks up to the door of the cabin. And he sort of just stands there. And so Freddy's like, I guess he's waiting on me to open it. So he walks up and he reaches over top of it and he pushes open the door, and the creature walks in and he follows it, and he's expecting to walk into a dusted up, old, beat down cabin. But instead he walks out of the woods into a futuristic city where they seem to be floating, like the city is in midair. And so he sort of stands there for a minute and he turns around expecting to see the door to the cabin shut, but instead he just sees the remnants of the city, like more floating city. So then he quickly picks up his pace to catch up with the creature, who's clearly still on this mission to get to destination God knows where. And he wants to ask it, like, so do you think you can give me some sort of indication as to where we're going? But then he immediately decides that is absolutely pointless. These things clearly don't talk. So they walk and they walk and they walk, and he's taken in the flying things that people are sitting inside of. I want to call them flying cars, but I don't know. I feel like that kind of sounds a little too cliche. So the smaller flying means of transportation. I'm going to find a word for it. And he takes in the buildings that seem to be like 400 levels high, and the other creatures that are smaller that seem to be pets for the people that look like you and I living in the city. So he's like, what year are we in? Is this like year 4000? So he keeps taking it in, also still trying to keep up with this, his new guide. And they get to this building that's, rather large and fancy looking. And people aren't like walking up the steps. They're like stepping on these things that like carry them, like that allows them to levitate and floats up to the door that opens. And so the creature somehow knows that that's what it's supposed to do, and it does. And he's standing there staring at it and staring at everybody else doing it. And he's like, oh no, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna wait out here. You let me know what goes on in there. And so the creature eventually gets to the door, and he just turns around and looks at him like, I don't know. It was just understood. You have to come up here. So he takes a deep breath, he stands on it, and as soon as it starts to move, he jerks, loses his balance, and like falls right off. And he looks back up at the creature. The thing is like shaking its head, like, all right, my guy, come on, like, we gotta go. So he gets back on, and it starts to move up again, and he does a little bit better this time. He doesn't fall off, but he still is like incredibly shaky and uncomfortable. So he opens the door and they walk in, and all of these people are like hustling and bustling around, doing their own thing, all in their own little world. And he continues to follow the, his new friend. And they continue just walking past all these people, just make their way through the crowd of busy bees. And they get to this door that seems to be significantly more detailed than all the other doors that they've walked past. And he then takes it upon himself to open that door as well, obviously, because everything that this creature walks up to, every door that it walks up to, he obviously has to be the one to open the door. So he opens it, and they walk into this office where it's awfully incredibly fancy. And he leads him up to this desk where this gentleman is clearly like on the phone in the middle of what sounds like a business meeting, and the chair's faced the other way. And he sits down, and then his new friend sits down next to him on his hind legs. And they're just sort of waiting for this guy to get off the phone. And as Freddy sits there, he's like, his voice sounds so familiar. And he just can't place it. He gets off the phone, this guy that they're meeting, and he turns around, and it's his brother. But his brother right now seems to have a beard and longer hair, and he looks more muscular, like a little bit more established. There's not as much charisma, but there is a strong sense of confidence. And he says, the guy, his brother, says, "How can I help you?" Obviously, this man isn't his brother, but he wants to know why he looks exactly like his brother. So Freddy's like, I don't know. This thing just led me here, and I'm guessing you have answers for me. So the guy's head jerks back, and he's like, "Oh, you're Ceasar's brother. How are you doing? How can I help you?" He says it again. And he's like, "What do you mean I'm Ceasar's brother? How do you know Ceasar? You mean Ceasar's been here? What is going on?" So then this brand new Ceasar is like, "Yeah, your brother's been here plenty of times. He's well known around here." So Freddy takes a minute. He looks at the creature. The creature does not make eye contact with him. He just keeps on looking forward. And then he looks back at his new version of a brother. And he's like, wait a second, hold on a minute. You mean to tell me my brother knew that this place existed this entire time? And so this guy, finally, he's like, "Well, my name," what's his name? Jameson. "My name is Jameson. Your brother's a great guy. And I'm guessing he wanted you to come here. My assumption is that he probably wanted to come with you. Where is he?" So then it all dawns on to Freddy. He's like, Ceasar had to have known that this was all going to happen. The offering to do my homework, the incessant pushing to come on this adventure together. Now Freddy's sitting there in front of Jameson, trying to figure out if it was Ceasar's plan for him to come here alone. Was he tricked into this? Or were they supposed to come together, and he completely caused an entire derail to the plan when he haul-assed out of the woods? We will find out on our next story. Thank you for coming.